Hello and welcome to another Driven Catalyst live stream. I have a mint in my mouth, so you may hear some tap dancing. I can't remember if it's a TV show where they're doing like a caricature of a stand-up or if there's actually a famous comedian that has a bit where he puts a mint in his mouth and it's like a tap dancer. But thoughts go out to whoever came up with that bit today as I poach it. But let's catch up. Let us catch up. Is the name of today's live stream because I am running low on title ideas and frankly, I am just as tired of the thumbnails being the same pose of me every time. And what am I think I've committed to Helvetica at this point. Nope. We are using Forma DJR banner. If you're seeing what I'm cooking with font-wise in the thumbnails and liking what I'm putting out there, big still plans to come up with something more creative and fun for the thumbnails. But I have wonderful structure updates on what live streaming is going to look like henceforth. Currently, we don't have a viewership. If you are watching this from the future, if we have a viewership, thank you. But at this current point in time, historically speaking, in the present day, we don't really have much going on. It is my hope that as we continue to figure out and fine-tune this process, we will obtain one and we will move more towards knowing what this sort of live streaming is intended for and will look like. I have a fun time with it. It's my hope that viewers will have a fun time watching it eventually. And as we fine-tune and move more towards structure, I am having more and more hopes that we will nail it down. But here is the plan for now. Necessity is the mother of invention is the cliche, and I don't know if that's totally applicable, but as the office space in a very logistical sense has changed and shifted this summer, it has honestly changed my comfort level with talking to myself in this office, but also sort of moved around my availability, which is good because I think live streaming every day was kind of crazy. It was fun, but just for me, I think. So I'm glad we're moving more towards it being fun for other people too. That being said, we have a schedule now. I will be live streaming, barring company holidays or I do reserve the right to, without announcement, have like a bad hair day and not be capable of looking at myself and talking to myself on the internet for an hour. But barring all of those extenuating circumstances, which will hopefully be pretty extenuating, I'd like to have no bad hair days. We will be live streaming at Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2 to 3 Central Time. So whatever that means for you, we're cooking with Central Time here. 2 to 3. It won't always be 2 to 3. In fact, it won't be 2 to 3 because setup and tear down time of a live stream does exist, believe it or not. But that's the schedule, which feels like really great. If you're looking for some consistency in your life, I would love to be that consistency for you. But in the meantime, that's the schedule. I hope to still have more fun and interesting thumbnails. And now that there's been some breathing room, now that we're no longer beating a dead horse, I do want to bring back some of the yes and UI and the fun creative segments that I sort of generated as we started moving more towards the structure. Now that we are kind of settling into the structure, I hope that will get better and better. I want to continue doing New Music Fridays, and honestly, that is probably a little bit what today is going to turn into. Hold on, the gas lift on my chair. I talk about it on live stream enough. but I perpetually sink down. And so it's pretty annoying. I will get a new chair that is not so loud and obnoxious eventually. But today I have it, and I'm going to have to talk about it for a few minutes and acknowledge the fact that I'm slowly but surely sinking in the frame. But okay, I guess that is my housekeeping in terms of structure, scheduling updates. I haven't prepared much else today except for the promised catching up time. So I'm just going to move now into talking about that. So I feel like I like always giving you pop culture updates, like talking about what I've been listening to and watching and enjoying. So I went and saw The Roses twice this weekend, the new Olivia Colman, Benedict Cumberbatch movie based on a book, War of the Roses, I believe. And it's a rated R, I think. And it's a hard R in or like a harsh R-rated movie language-wise, I guess. And it's sort of, I don't know. Glowing review, though, on my part. I saw it twice for a reason. I really liked the story. I like slice of life shows that trend towards the absurd, and I would say it has Gilmore Girls style writing where it's very quick and witty. And so Amy Sherman Palladino type vibe. Palladino? I can never remember if there's an N at the end of it. And it puts me into awkward positions when I'm wanting to confidently talk about my love for Gilmore Girls, Bunheads, and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. But yeah, it's very quick and crass, and all of the acting is phenomenal. Kate McKinnon, Andy Samberg, I adore them both. Great movie. So I saw that one. Brandi Carlile, superstar, just released a new single and announced her next album, Returning to Myself, album title and title of the single. The new album is set to come out drum roll, please. Okay. It's taking me longer than I anticipated to track down the release date, but as a super fan, I recall the date being close to October 23rd. Should we see if I was correct? I'm very, very rapidly trying to pull up her website and load it. It's taking a bit, I'm sorry. Please open up another tab and watch paint dry in the meantime to keep yourself entertained. And I still have this mint in my mouth. Are you kind of impressed? Because I'm pretty impressed with the longevity of it. Okay, in the meantime, let me vamp, I guess. I'm really obsessed with this font and aesthetic for this new album. And we've got Aaron Dessner. Oh my gosh, October 24th is the correct date. That's awesome. I was off by a day. Except not quite off by a day because usually the way releases go is they come out the Friday, right? But that means for me in Central Time, I generally get to enjoy it 11 p.m. the day prior. So if I were putting it on my calendar, which I will, it would be October 23rd. So I was kind of right on the money with it. But yeah, I'm really loving the aesthetic of the album. I'm obsessed with the font of the album, which kind of leads me to my next. I can't remember if I've talked much about The Life of a Showgirl. That's the other album, of course, that I am wildly anticipating. I don't think we have talked about any Taylor Swift news since pretty significant Taylor Swift news dropped. If we want to talk about Taylor Swift in regard to her personal life, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce announced an engagement with each other. They are engaged to each other. I'm trying to talk about it in like the most, I don't know, celebratory way, but it's like, but with respect to the fact that it's a celebrity who I like to celebrate the work of prior to, I don't know. They're engaged. October 3rd is when that album comes out, Life of a Showgirl. When vamping goes wrong and it becomes hostile. I don't know, just, like, let's be real. We've all watched the interviews. We all know the last thing you want to do is talk about one of the most successful women in all of the music industry's engagement prior to her body of work and achievements. But also, it's exciting and fun too, and we love to celebrate personal life wins prior to capitalistic job-related goals and achievements. But the context that we know and understand her within is a capitalistic job-related space. Much to think about, much to argue about on Twitter if you really want to get into it. But yeah, so that's happened. That's pop culture news that feels relevant. I have continued work wireframing my app that I've talked a little bit about. I have alluded to, I guess, some of the, methodology for tracking goals and staying organized in my own personal life. I'm using a whiteboard, but I've implemented some of those tracking methods into the wireframe design of my app, and I now have a dashboard type thing that is, it's very widget heavy looking right now, which is kind of my intention. That's not something that we've really done here at Driven Catalyst yet, but in our software development planning meetings, we have talked about wanting to come up with ideas that help us build our skill set. And I like the idea of, in addition to a calendar app being just a great addition to the skill set, I like the idea of widgets being implemented too. We are also going to have to figure out how to integrate native calendar apps like the Google Calendar, which adheres to calendar rules my boss has told me before. But since I'm not really in charge of implementation of any of that, as someone who does not code, I don't remember. But I kind of like knowing things like that, so I probably will look it up and commit it to memory later. But we are going to be able to hopefully integrate Apple Maps and Apple Calendar and Google Calendar. Otherwise, I think this app idea maybe just not be functional at all. But those being big skill set additions, I also like the idea of having a very widget forward app. I am someone who really likes widgets. So right now, the fact that the dashboard of the app I'm wireframing is very widget forward sits well with my soul, frankly. And I'm really liking it, and I'm thinking it's cute. I wrapped up naming all my colors. I talked to y'all about naming the colors for our branding packages. So I put together font and color scheme packages. So I will now actually do a dramatic reading of the color names that I came up with. And I'll explain some of them. I'll explain the faves. So we've got our primary brand color trio, which is fur and firmware, cache only, and cloud computing. That's our dark green is the fur and firmware. We have the sort of lime green, or the color that Monopoly money would maybe be, cache only. And then cloud computing is sort of a cream silvery color. Then we've got sort of, it's like a periwinkle. It trends towards cornflower blue, but it's way more purpley. And there are some, if you look up like iris flowers, there are some irises that are spot on this color. So it's called Luck of the Iris is the name for the color. We've got a burnt orange kind of that is Cheeto packaging adjacent. So that one is called Cheeto Code, kind of a play on cheat code. And then we have a fluorescent yellow that's a little bit muted. Like it's a muted fluorescent, if that makes sense. If that's not totally paradoxical. And it's called Mr. Brightside, which is a nod to Mr. Brightside by the Killers. Of course. Great song. Next, we have like a maroon burgundy sort of color, or a rouge, if you will. And one of the most common typos for the Star Wars film Rogue One is Rouge One, if you can imagine. I've certainly made the typo many times myself. So we've got Rouge One. I went for sort of fun, pop culturally themed puns. That's sort of my vibe. So we've got Rouge One. We've got a very, very, very light lavender color called Marcia Mellow, which is so fun to say. We've got a dark, muted navy, but it's way more blue forward, and it's called Almost Blue It. Blue, of course, spelled like blue. And then we've got Well Red, spelled like red. And well red, the best way to describe it, in my opinion, is if I could turn the perfect red nail polish color into a digital color swatch, an RGB color, well, this is it. It's very, very much like, I don't know, it's the perfect red to me. It's a very like cool tone red. It's got the blue undertone rather than being orangey. Although I'm like tilting my head and squinting, and maybe it is a little orangey. Who's to say? Actually, I could look at the values on it, and we could actually find out mathematically how orangey it is. But we won't do that today. Keeping it moving, in the utility app and podcast colors, these are some of the more muted tones. We've got Big Little Lilacs. It is quite literally a lilac purple. If you look up the color of lilac, it's sort of a pinkier purple, but it's like, it is very much, when people say lavender, and when you think lavender, it is lavender. Like, you could definitely call this lavender, but there's just a hint of pink in it that to me moves it more towards a lilac, if we're going to be nerdy about colors. Next we have, honestly, it's sort of a mustard yellow, but in the way that mustard yellows are orangish in their own way. This is a very cheesy mustard yellow. So it's called Easy Mac. And then we've got a butter yellow that is called Liz Lemon. I love you, Tina Fey. I love you a lot. Okay, next row, we've got kind of just the perfect shade of dirt brown. And so it is just called dirt. When I was going through the color naming process, there were times where there were like yellows. We have so many different yellows because some of the oranges lean yellowish, like I was just saying with Easy Mac. When I was naming Easy Mac and Liz Lemon and Mr. Brightside, I didn't know what to do. And then, like, similarly with brown, I was out of puns, and so I just like put in one word names for them. Like, I had yellows that were just called yellow, and while I was shorthanding my way, just trying to set up the formatting so I had a word in the middle of the color swatch box, I named brown dirt. And it was so amusing to me that they all had funny, cutesy little names, and then brown was just called dirt, that I left it. So we've got dirt brown. But if we do want to give it like the pop cultural justification, I also just love the Brian Regan bit. It's a cup with dirt in it. I call a cup of dirt. Like, it's great. So that is a little bit a nod to Brian Regan, if you will. And then we've got quite literally the perfect shade of pink, I think. It's like pink. It's baby pink. If you think about a cartoon pig, or if you think about like ballerina slippers in a cartoon, like it's just pink. If you imagine light pink, this is the pink that I feel like you would land on. And so I was like working through like, what are we going to call it? What are we going to call it? I thought about Pinkies Up, but then that's kind of just a lot to write. And it's not like, it wasn't like fun and pop culture-y and silly in the right way. So we went with And the Brain for fans of Pinky and the Brain. Then we have a really fun blue. It is honestly not too far off from the trendy car blue that's out there right now, where it's sort of a dusty blue. This is a little less dusty, a little brighter, and it is called Canadian Tux. And it has come to my attention that not everyone knows that denim on denim is called a Canadian tuxedo. So I had at first intended to call the shade denim on denim, and that felt like a lot to type for a color, like a color name. And then I decided like Canadian Tux would be cute. For a second, I thought about calling it tuxedo, like how it's the stereotype that Canadians say a lot. And then I realized that is probably way too abstracted and too far down the rabbit hole of my sense of humor to really name a color swatch that. So we kept it cute. We kept it reasonable. The shade is called Canadian Tux. And lastly, we have a faded red color. It's a little watermelon-y. It's it's the color of raw tuna. So the shade is called Bib for Tuna. Like if you put on a bib to eat tuna, or the famous Star Wars character Bib for Tuna. Once again, gotta get my nerd reference in. Super cute. So then from there we have like 9 different color and font packs that I put together that developers, when they are putting together their games, if they need a quick like branding pack to grab and throw onto the brilliant, really cool thing that they're developing, they have some visual guidelines that help make it easier for them. Yeah, so that was super fun. That's like, I guess, a pretty decent and in-depth overall update on what's to come with live streams, what I've been working on, what I've been doing media-wise, consuming in my personal life. It's Wednesday, which means tonight we will be watching The Summer I Turned Pretty. And by we, I mean me. And whatever Belly does, I'm sure I will mention briefly on Friday, depending on how outrageous I feel about it. But I'm super excited about that. It's so fun to have a show that comes out episodically to watch weekly. But I guess that about rounds us out. Off the top of my head, there's not an album coming out this week that I've been waiting for with bated breath, which honestly means it's going to be a very exciting week for New Music Friday. Because it means something's either going to catch me off guard and I'm going to feel silly that I forgot that it's coming out, or something new is going to blow me away. And I will look forward to it when it does. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday and a good Thursday. I will see y'all next 2 to 3 Central Time on Friday for New Music Friday. See you then. Goodbye.